What's up, my friends? Welcome back to the channel, Decoding with Cody here, and this is another follow-up to yesterday's video about Joe Biden's falling on stage at the graduation ceremony in Denver, Colorado. So if you guys haven't watched my video yesterday, or you guys haven't followed my information over the past year or so, you might want to go back and at least watch that video. In this video, I'm going to show this clear symbolism of this fall in Colorado and how it's tied to the Bible, how it's tied to this famous singer, John Denver, who also fell out of a sky in a plane. And also, I'm going to touch once again on the number 152, what I touched on in yesterday's video. So let's get started, guys. Let me just first off point out the very obvious thing here. Biden falls on the first day of June. And June 1st is the first day of what they call Pride Month. And if you guys know what this is, it's the LGBT Pride Month. Okay, it starts on June 1st and he falls on Pride Month. Now, what is the famous verse in the Bible that talks about pride coming before a fall? So Biden falls on the beginning of Pride Month. And the famous Proverbs, pride goeth before destruction, okay, and a haughty spirit before a fall. So what a perfect ritual to have Biden fall on the very first day of Pride Month. And this verse, Proverbs 16:18, is very interesting also because 1618 is the golden ratio. And this is a mathematical thing, but the golden ratio is 1618. Proverbs 1618 is pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. And Joe Biden falls on the first day of Pride Month in Denver, Colorado. Okay. And I mean, it's just a mockery, guys. If people cannot see through these rituals, I mean, at this point, I'm not trying to convince people. I'm just sharing the info. But the reality is that this is the ritual that I wanted to point out to start with. Okay. Now, I also wanted to mention that this Proverbs 1618 is all about the gold or the golden ratio. Okay. And currently, the Denver Nuggets, who are all about mining gold, and they're from Colorado, where Biden falls, are in they won their first game last night in the NBA Finals against the Miami Heat. Now, I'm going to get back to this game in a minute, but I want to pivot, and I want to once again talk about the 152. So if you guys have been following me for a while, this is a post I made back in April, and I've been following this 152-day cycle that Biden has been on. Now, this 152-day cycle started on March 19th, 2021, when Biden fell down the steps of Air Force One. Okay. Now, why is the 152 important to this whole ritual? Well, I'm going to show you in the gematria here. Remember, guys, gematria is the simple practice of taking letters and coding them into numbers and getting values. Okay. And Joe Biden equals 152. That is the reason why this number is so important to him. It's simply because his name equals 152. Also, his vice president, full name, Kamala Devi Harris, also equals 152. The county that his family hails from in Ireland, 152. I showed that in yesterday's video. So with that out of the way, let's just go over this. His first fall was on March 19th, and then that was on Air Force One. 152 days later is 8/18. This is the only day I cannot find a connection with out of all these 52-day cycles. If someone can find a connection, let me know. But another 152 days after that is RFK Jr.'s birthday. And you guys will remember that Robert F. Kennedy, the father of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., was assassinated, okay, on June 6th in 1968, I believe. And RFK Jr. just said that he would run for president, okay, for the Democratic nomination against Biden. So what are the chances that this 152-day cycle lands on his birthday, which is January 17th, 2022? And then 152 days after RFK's birthday, Biden falls off the bike in Delaware, his home state, or where he calls home. The next 152 days, Biden is at the G7 planting trees, burying trees in what I believe was a tribute to his dead son, Beau Biden. But at the end of the day, guys, this 52-day cycle has been following. This 152-day cycle has been following. Now, the next thing that happened was on the next 152-day cycle was on 4/18/2023, and I wrote on this day. This post was from April, guys, and I talked about the connection to the Biden and the Kennedy family and the Irish connection between them all. Remember, Robert F. Kennedy's father, Jr.'s father, RFK, who was assassinated, was born the same day as Joe Biden, 11/20. Okay, same day as Joe Biden, on November 20th, was RFK, who was assassinated. On 4/18, 152 days after Biden was at the G7, it was in the news that RFK Jr. would run for president against Joe Biden. Okay? Now, here's where it gets crazy, guys. The next 152-day cycle after 4/18 leads us to September 17th. And I'm going to show you why that day is so important, okay? So, as I told you, let me bring this up here. From this year on 4/18/2023 to this year on the next 152-day cycle from the last 152-day cycle, which was when RFK Jr. was announcing his presidency, 152 days forward leads us to 9/17. Okay? Why is that important, guys? That's because 9/17 is Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. And in fact, Rosh Hashanah this year is the end of the 50-year cycle. Now, let me show you this. A Jubilee is a 50-year period of time with 49 years in length, both the 50th year of the previous cycle and the first of the next. Okay, so if you guys have been following my work and Jordan's work at Waters Above Crypto, who's been decoding the markets and everything, we are in the 50th year Jubilee right now. And this Jubilee ends on this very day that Biden's 152-day cycle, that's the next time it comes around, okay? This is the last day of Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, and the last day of the 50th year of the Jubilee, which means the next day, on September 18th, is the very first day of the next 50-year cycle, okay? But the important thing here is the very last day is the 152nd day. Now, how is this even more perfect? Well, that's because there's a very important person who was born on this very day, and his name, let me pull him up, is Super Bowl MVP from this year, Patrick Mahomes. I didn't mean to type in partridge, guys. That's not what I meant to type in. Patrick Mahomes was born on the very day that this Jubilee ends, and also the very day that this cycle, see guys here, September 17th, and he was born the very day that this Jubilee ends, and he was the Super Bowl MVP this year on February 12th at the Super Bowl. And what do you guess that Patrick Mahomes equals in gematria, guys? Well, Patrick Mahomes equals 152. So it's perfect, guys. 152 days is the next cycle, lands on Patrick Mahomes' birthday, that equals 152. It's the end of the 50-year Jubilee and the start of the next 50 years. Okay? And that leads me to the year 1972, guys. 1972 is the year that John Denver released his song called Rocky Mountain High, which is in reference to the Colorado, which is where Biden fell yesterday, guys. Biden fell in Colorado, and in 1972, Biden's wife at that time, Nelia Hunter Biden, died in a car crash in 1972, which was 50 years ago, which was the beginning of the last Jubilee. And John Denver's famous song, Rocky Mountain High, okay, is all part of this riddle, guys. Rocky Mountain High, John Denver, obviously named after Denver, okay, where the Golden Nuggets are playing right now. I mean, this is where the Nuggets are in the NBA Finals. Biden falls in Denver. John Denver falls out of the sky just like Biden falls at an Air Force graduation. Okay, look at this. John Denver died of trauma as a result of a plane crash. He was an avid pilot. Denver was killed in a single fatally crash while piloting a recently purchased light plane in 1997. Okay, but his famous song, one of his famous songs, Rocky Mountain High, which is used, if you read here, guys, Colorado state legislature also adopted Rocky Mountain High as one of the state's two state songs. And so again, guys, this is all tied to John Denver in this plane crash and Biden falling at an Air Force event, which is all about planes, right? Air Force. So Rocky Mountain High, how is this, connected to 1972? Well, the song Rocky Mountain High was released 50 years ago in 1972, on October 1972. So if we go over here and we go to October 1972, October 30th, which was when Rocky Mountain High was released. And then we're going to go to Biden's wife's car crash in 1972, which was on December 18th. And we're going to see, guys, that it was a span of 50 days. Now, why is this important? Because I just told you that 1972 was the beginning of the 50-year cycle of the Jubilee. It's 49 years, 7 cycles of 7, and then the 50th year. And 50 years ago, in 1972, John Denver releases Rocky Mountain High 50 days before Joe Biden's wife crashes and dies. Okay, and her 2 sons, Hunter Biden and Beau Biden, were both in the car, but they survived. Okay, and remember, Hunter Biden's a huge topic in the news right now with his pictures and stuff. But what are the chances that 50 years ago, the Jubilee, and now we're in the next Jubilee 50 years later, and also 50 days in that year before John Denver releases the Rocky Mountain High right before Joe Biden's wife dies in a plane crash? So again, this 50 is huge here. There's also a huge number for the United States because there's 50 states. And the biggest thing to know here, guys, is that this 9/18 date, guys, if I'm going to go back to the present day here, this 9/18 day, which is 152 days, is the next day in the 152-day cycle, okay? Because the last day in the 152-day cycle for Biden was again, let me pull this up, guys. So again, the last 152-day cycle was when RFK Jr. announced he's running to face Joe Biden in the Democratic Party. 152 days later is Patrick Mahomes' birthday and the end of the Jubilee. Patrick Mahomes 152, Kamala Devi Harris 152. That means this next day on 9/18 is the very first year of the next 50-day cycle. The 50-year cycle, sorry. Because remember, this is the end of the 50th year and we're going to start over. Okay? So the 152 is huge here. It lands on the perfect date. It lands on Patrick Mahomes' birthday, the end of the Jubilee. Absolute perfect synchronization. And again, I just explained to you how John Denver is tied to this because he fell out. He wrote the song Rocky Mountain High 50 days before Joe Biden's wife died in 1972. That was 50 years ago. And John Denver was from Colorado. He's all about Colorado, right? He's named after Denver, Colorado. His song Rocky Mountain High is the state song. And then, of course, at the same time that Biden falls in Colorado, the Denver Nuggets win their first game. Okay? And I just want to point out the symbolism here. The symbolism is clear, guys. There's the Denver Nuggets against the Miami Heat. And look at the Miami Heat symbol, guys. It's a ball falling out of the sky, like a fiery crash, right? A fiery falling object coming out of the sky. And Denver is playing that. Okay? Now let me show you again this 152. Now remember, yesterday Biden fell on 6/1, which was the 152nd day of the year. Again, it had 50 date numerology. I just told you that we're in the Jubilee 50 years ago, and 50 days before his wife's crash in 1972, the song Rocky Mountain High was released. 52 date numerology, 6 plus 1 plus 20 plus 23 is 50. On the 152 day of the year, okay? If you go forward 15 weeks and 2 days, just like the 152, it once again gets you in this same time period, what I just showed you at the end of the Jubilee. Rosh Hashanah starts on the 15th, but if you go 15 weeks and 2 days forward, it lands once again on 9/16, which is 1 day before the day I was just showing you, which is Patrick Mahomes' birthday. But now, how about the song Rocky Mountain High? Or, sorry guys, what about this John Denver? So, John Denver died in a plane crash on October 12th, 1997. That means that from the time that Joe Biden fell yesterday to John Denver's upcoming birthday or death day anniversary is 133 days. Why is that important, guys? Well, if we go to Gematria, we're going to see. Joe Biden falls in Colorado 133 days before John Denver's death anniversary. Colorado equals 133. Collapse 133. President 133. Okay? Now I want you guys to notice that Proverbs, which was the proverb I showed you earlier about falling, pride goes before a fall. Proverbs equals 115 like John Denver and 47 like John Denver. Also, government also equals 47. So again, guys, this 133 is the most important number here. Notice that Colorado and Collapse also have a 2-cipher match. But I just want to get rid of the rest of these and show you the 133 connection, between this. You can see all these numbers, all these things have matches, guys. But the main one is the 133, President 133, Colorado 133, Collapse 133. And Joe Biden, he falls 133 days before John Denver falls out of the sky, the anniversary of his fall. Okay. And what's interesting about this also, guys, is that John Denver was born on the 150 or on the last day of the year. Okay. He was born December 31st. So that means if we go to his last birthday, December 31st, okay, that means that Joe Biden fell on 152 days after John Denver's birthday. And again, Joe Biden, I just showed you all the 152s. Now, what about the release of Rocky Mountain High, which was released on 10/30? And if you do the math on that, Joe Biden fell 152 days before the anniversary of the release of the song Rocky Mountain High in the Rocky Mountain State. So he falls on the 152nd day of the year, 152 days after John Denver's birthday, 152 days before the anniversary of John Denver's song Rocky Mountain High, and Joe Biden equals 152. Okay? And the Denver Nuggets are currently playing a team that has a symbol of something falling out of the sky. So once again, guys, thanks for watching. I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover here. There's so much symbolism going on with this, and sometimes it's just mind-blowing. But at any rate, guys, this is definitely symbolism all connected between John Denver and Joe Biden and this Colorado connection. So we'll see what this leads to. But the next big day, guys, as I showed you here, is the Jubilee year, the end of the Rosh Hashanah on September 15th through September 18th. Watch out for that time period. And again, guys, thank you for watching. I will see you guys in the next video.